I'm a 19-year-old female college student who works the front desk overnight shift at a creepy, fairly old gas station. I don't like my job, but I will say that there are some benefits. My boss is mostly chill, I get to finish all my homework, and no one really comes in this late. Other than that, I do have my complaints as well. The biggest one is that it's a creepy vibe, and I never really got used to it. I did have occasional customers and the usuals as well. The gas station comes off a deserted street, and most of the time it was truck drivers. I was working one Friday night. I know, sucks, right? Apparently, one of my coworkers just upped and vanished, so it was my job to take over on a Friday night of all nights. It was quiet, as usual. About 2 hours in, I had 4 customers so far. At this point, I finished all my homework, and I decided to put my earbuds in so I wasn't so bored. My boss didn't like this, but no one was here, so I figured I'd be fine. I have a small window to my right that I occasionally look out to see if anybody's coming to the double glass doors to enter the building. I see a truck pull off the main road and into the parking lot of the gas station. A figure steps out of the white beat-up truck and starts walking towards the doors. I don't remember why, but I didn't like the way he walked. It was unsettling. I don't even know how to describe it. It's like he was taking strides that were too long. I take out my earbuds and I put them on the desk to my right. A man enters the gas station, and to my surprise, he looks oddly normal. Clean-shaven, basic jeans, and a white tee. He looks at me and walks up to the counter. "Hello, how can I help you?" I ask the man. He kind of just stares. Not at me, not at the wall behind me, just stares. At nothing. He does this for a solid 5 seconds, and my heart begins to pound a little faster and louder. It was something that wasn't right. He then looks to his left, in the direction of the back room for employees. He looks back at me. I can now see his dazed eyes, and they look wild. "Who's here with you?" I stop. Everything freezes. No one is here with me. But if I tell that man that, I don't know what he'll do. I do have a cheap pair of box cutters in my backpack next to me if anything happens, but I'm not even sure I could defend myself from him. He looks much bigger than me and could easily overpower me if he just tried the slightest. I try not to let a tremble out of my voice. "Yeah, my coworker, he's in the back." I make sure he knows it's a man, so he might think I have a little more firepower than I do. He doesn't even acknowledge that I exist. He just turns around and starts walking through the store. I'm so fucking scared, and I've never wanted to quit so bad. I quietly grab my box cutters out of the compartment of my bag and put them into my pocket. There's no way I would be able to have enough time to call 911. I'm trapped. He walks to the back of the store, opens up a refrigerator, grabs a beer, and then starts walking back to me. It looks like there isn't even a soul in him. He sets his beer on the counter and he waits for me to ring it up. My arms are trembling. At any moment he can lunge at me and do God knows what. I quickly ring up the beer and he gives me the cash for it. He grabs it and leaves the store. I'm so relieved that he didn't try anything, and my heart is still pounding and my breaths are uneven. Later I called my boss and I told him about the situation. He told me to close up shop early and head home. When I came in the next week on Monday, my boss was there. He said he wanted to stay with me to make sure the man didn't come back until he can find somebody else to take the night shift, because I sure as hell didn't want it anymore. The next day I was called off for the night, and I work the afternoon now. I hope I never see that guy again. I'm 22 years old, and I live alone in a nice house that I'm renting. I was out one night, a Friday night. All the guys invited me to the bar. We were having a good time. I didn't drink very much because I knew I needed to drive home. 2 hours passed and most of my buds had left. I was on my way out too, before I checked my pockets and I realized, stupidly, I forgot my phone. I talked to my buddy Carl, and I told him I was missing my phone. He offered to call it, and I let him. It was either at the bar or it was back at my house. I searched around for a couple minutes and I asked a couple people, but I didn't find anything. That's when Carl came up to me. "Bro, I think somebody has your phone." I asked him what he meant. "Somebody picked up and they started breathing into it." Then he hung up. "You think it's one of the guys playing a prank on you?" Now I know my friends, and I know they're probably stupid enough to pull a prank like this on me. I asked Carl to check the Find My iPhone app to see if he can locate my phone. The image of my phone appeared at my house. This means someone might be in my home. Carl and I went back to my house, and the front door was unlocked. I never leave my front door unlocked. We enter the house, and I can't find anything. I arm myself. We enter the house. I arm myself with a kitchen knife and Carl takes out the gun in his glove compartment of his car. We search the entire house. Nothing. I then find my phone on my nightstand. Luckily, I have a Ring camera out front. I check it. I don't see anybody enter the house, but I do see someone leave. What looks like a 6'2", scruffy middle-aged man leaves my house. He walks so robotically. I don't get it. I check around the house a little more and I realize that my back door was unlocked. Stupidly, I forgot to lock the back door. It's been a couple of days since then, and I still think about it. What gets me the most is that he didn't leave with anything. He didn't steal anything, he didn't even take my phone. He just left. A presumably homeless man broke into my house, answered my phone, then left. I don't even want to know what his intentions were. I just always make sure to lock down my house before I leave. I'm a delivery driver for Domino's Pizza. The job is actually pretty nice. I get to listen to music in my car while driving to the next house. It's relatively laid back. I also get gas money because I use my own car instead of a company-issued one. Tonight, like a lot of other nights, I was working late. It was about 10 p.m. and this was the last house I had to hit before I was done. This house was pretty far from the pizza place. The tracker on my phone said to turn off a highway into a shaded part of town. It was almost a forest. There were a ton of trees and few houses. As I drove along the empty street, something inside me just didn't feel right. I'm not sure what it was, but I don't even know if there were any houses out here. My phone said I was less than a mile to my destination, so I kept driving. To my surprise, there was a house out here. The house looked old though. I didn't like it. It was a 2-story home that looked like nobody lived there for a long time. There were vines growing on each side of the house and the lawn was overgrown. I pulled off of the gravel road and into the gravel driveway of the house. I got out of the car and got what I came here for. 1 pepperoni pizza. I started walking through the tall grass to get to the door. There were 4 steps leading up to the porch, each one creakier than the last. I walk up to the door and I knock. 2 loud thuds. I wait. And I wait. No one is coming to the door. I can't even hear any movement in the house. I sit still for about 30 seconds before I knock again. Still, no answer. Now, I really don't know what to think. Who would order a pizza and then not take it when it arrived? I've been working at Domino's for a couple months now, and surprisingly this has happened a couple times. My boss just tells me to wait a couple minutes. If they paid online, it wouldn't be a problem because I would just leave the box on their doorstep. But this customer didn't. I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to take it back just to have to come back here again. Another couple seconds go by, and I'm contemplating what I should do. That's when I hear it. A faint but heavy scream that's coming from inside the house. It's terrifying. I don't know what to do. Are they watching a movie? Do I call the police? Footsteps. They're not coming from inside though, they're coming from the back of the house. It sounds like multiple, 3 or maybe 4, if that. I book it. I start running back to my car and shut the door. I see 5 huge men start running from the left side of the house. They can see me in my car and they start sprinting towards it. Luckily, I lock my door before one of them has a chance to pull on my door handle. Then they start hitting... The men start hitting my windows with their bare fist. I quickly put my keys into the ignition, twist, and then set the car into reverse. I push it, hitting one of the guys who was behind my car trying to get through the back window. He flies over the car and tramples onto the ground in front of me as I'm reversing the car out of the lot. I shift into drive and get the fuck out of there. I look to my left and for a split second I see the men looking at me, not even trying to get in my car anymore. I'm practically crying in my car. I immediately call my boss and tell him what happened. I've never been so scared in my life. I have a relatively old car, but it's sturdy, and I'm so glad that they weren't able to break through my windows. My boss tells me to come back to the restaurant so I can tell him everything. I do. I hear that a couple days later the cops investigated the house. They couldn't find the men, but they found the body of a young woman who had been missing for about a month. That must have been who I heard in there. Those men, whoever they are fucking disgraces and should be left to rot in a prison cell for the rest of their lives. It's 2 years later. I don't work at Domino's anymore, and I still do think about that night. I could have died, but I'm glad that my survival instincts kicked in. Luckily, I didn't end up like that woman.